Hey, I'm Bianca Wooden, and I am coming to you because I want to share with you what is happening in Mississippi Legislature right now regarding midwifery. If you don't know me, I live on the coast in Ocean Springs. I'm a lactation consultant, childbirth educator, and doula. I've been so for a while, and birth has been important to me, and I've been involved with it and care about it, of course, since I had my first baby, but professionally for about 13 years. And I know I am not a lawyer, I'm not a lobbyist, but I know a bit about how the system works. And I know a lot of you just might not know, even if you've had a home birth, you don't know why that is possible. So I just kind of want to take you through that of why we have midwives, how we have midwives from a legal standpoint in Mississippi. So backing up first, we know that midwifery is a critical component of a good maternity healthcare system. Every organization, except for possibly ACOG, agrees with that we need those options. And the countries that do really well with outcomes have midwives as integrated into the system. Okay, so we can settle on that we all agree we need midwives. And in Mississippi, we have midwives. I'm guessing we have about a dozen all over the state specializing in home birth. So with that said, there are two main types of midwives. I'm trying to keep this as concise as possible. So there are nurse midwives. So those are nurses who then continue their education and become a certified nurse midwife. In the state of Mississippi, they work in the hospital, and really around the country, that's mostly where they work. They do not in Mississippi have the option of doing home births, and their training does not include home birth. So typically that's where we see those midwives working alongside physicians in a hospital setting. Direct entry midwives is the other type of midwife. And the word direct entry just means they entered directly to midwifery. They didn't do nursing first. So it is specifically into midwifery. And direct entry midwives are typically trained in home birth. That's what they specialize in, low risk home birth clients, and they work around the country. So in Mississippi, we have some nurse midwives in some of our hospitals, and then we have the direct entry midwives. So when I said I think we have around a dozen, I'm talking about direct entry midwives. Now, a direct entry midwife could have any type of training, any variety. There's some options. One path that they might take is to get a certification, and a certification is offered by an organization that then says you have done these things, a private organization. So I'm an IBCLC. I got that certification. I went through training and took the test and all that and became an IBCLC. So the certification for direct entry midwives that's generally agreed upon as the standard is certified professional midwife, CPM. So some of the midwives in our state, you might see that designation after their name, or you might not. Some midwives don't have a desire to be a CPM, and some midwives are practicing, but they're working towards getting that designation. So there's some variety there as well. So let's start, now that you kind of understand the midwives, let me show you, I'm going to screen share with you. And bear with me because I am not a YouTuber and not going to edit this video. We're just going to use it as is. So, okay, I am showing you here the a website that has the Mississippi Code. So Mississippi Code is the law of the state of Mississippi. Each state in the United States really has a lot of, that's the whole basis of the United States, is that each state has their own laws. So midwives are handled differently in each state in the United States. So we're looking at the law in Mississippi. So in Mississippi, Section 732533 is the practice of medicine. So this is where they say, if you do X, Y, and Z, you're a doctor. And if you're a doctor, you need to have this education and hold a license, okay? So in this section, you're like, why does that have to do with midwives? Because in Mississippi, and every state is different, Mississippi is the only one that has this setup, which is interesting. So here they're explaining what it is to practice medicine, because basically you don't want to go to a doctor and them say, oh, I'm a doctor, an MD, and they have are not. So they're saying this is what it means to be a doctor. And then at the end of this section, it says all these rules about being a doctor do not apply to, right here, females engaged solely in the practice of midwifery. So that little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 words is what gives Mississippi the space to have direct entry midwives. So Mississippi's law is saying women that say they're a midwife can practice. There are no rules around it. There's no guidelines. It's kind of just an open door, but it says we are not going to arrest you. It's not illegal for you to be a midwife, because we have this here saying, yes, you're allowed to do that and you are not, breaking the law. So that is where we've been for some time. I don't know when that went into place. And then is what is happening, why we're in a risky situation now, is because a bill has been introduced into the House and the Senate that will replace this paragraph. So this paragraph will be replaced with this new paragraph, and it doesn't have that line. And I'll show it to you real quick. I'm going to make a second video that talks about how bills become laws, but let me just show you real quick. I think I have them pulled up. So this is our state legislature website. So I pulled up Senate Bill 2816. Senator Wiggins, who is in Pascagoula, is the one who authored this. And this is a brief summary. These things are so hard to read because they're all capitals and it's legal speak. But then we're going to click here on the PDF and go to the actual bill itself. Again, very difficult to read. Let's see, am I on the right thing? Yes, okay, perfect. Want to make sure I was in the right spot. So I'm going to scroll down to right here. So remember we had this section 732533. They're replacing this. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Let's see. 732533. 732533. So they will replace it with this paragraph that's underlined, which does not mention midwifery. Since it doesn't mention midwifery, then that would by default make midwifery unprotected in Mississippi. So the question is that I don't know the answer to is lots of bills are introduced every year in the House and the Senate. There's also a House bill that's the same, the Medical Practice Act, to revise and update. So many, many, many bills are introduced every year, and many are not put into law. There's a process, which I'll explain in the next video, to get a bill into law. So then the question is, does this bill have a lot of backing that it is going to go into law, or is this one of those bills that is not? And does anyone realize they've left out midwives, or was that done on purpose? Or are we open to adding back in that line that was already there? So those are questions I don't know. Our legislators might be able to answer it, specifically the author. So Senator Wiggins, I would like to know what his thoughts are, which I know because I know him. He is not a supporter of midwifery. Representative Cockerham, the author. So when you go to the website, you can click and see. So Angela Cockerham is the one which introduced this bill, which she is a Black woman, which just gives me pause that she does not understand the historical, the depth of midwifery and where it's come from and its importance in our state and for women's rights and human rights and from a racial standpoint. But she authored that bill. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but I wanted to explain that that's where we are. The alternative, which I want to further explain, is licensure. So we also have another bill introduced that has been introduced last year as well. It was put together by Better Birth Mississippi, which is a nonprofit organization that promotes the licensure of midwives. So let me show you this little chart, this little map. So although we have many midwives that are CPMs, right now in the state of Mississippi, we do not license midwives. So a license is when the state, the government of the state, says, okay, in a profession, let's say daycares. Okay, so daycares are licensed. Daycare owner has a license. The state says, okay, in order to be a daycare, you have to have XYZ. These are the rules. This is how many kids per person. You can read the daycare license laws. And the state oversees that and enforces it. Lots of professions have licenses, and there is plenty to think about, pray on, discuss when it comes to licensing any profession, here specifically midwives. But I want to explain to you what a license is. So in the United States, we have 37 states that license midwives. So if a midwife wants to practice, they put in an application to the state. And generally, the state says if you're a CPM, you can get a license. And there's, usually a fee and there's oversight. I'm not going to explain to you why or why not license midwives. There is a lot to it, and I have put a lot of thought personally into it over the last 13 years since this came to my awareness. But I do want to encourage you to listen to, can I click on it here? Right here. The latest Birthing Instincts podcast episode as defense attorney Hermine Hayes Kline. This episode is all about the midwife trial in Nebraska. In Nebraska, midwives are not licensed, and a midwife was arrested after the death of a baby at a birth. Terrible situation. But Hermine does a good job. That's a heavy listen, thinking about a family tragedy like that. But if you skip to, you can listen to the whole thing, it's great. But if you skip to about 35 minutes in, she explains licensure versus not licensure and the legal ramifications there for both people hiring midwives and midwives themselves. So rather than listen to me, she does a great job if you want to pull that up. And if you are interested in that midwife trial in Nebraska on YouTube, you can watch the whole trial, the live streaming thing. Hermine is the attorney on that. I haven't watched it because I do not have 30 hours, but I would like to. So maybe that will be in my future. Okay, so those are those. I'm going to try and put all these links in there for you. So right now in Mississippi, midwives are not licensed. If that bill passes, Senate Bill 2816, House Bill 1219, if those pass, midwifery will be essentially illegal. So Better Birth Mississippi, which you can go to their Facebook page, and they have some videos on their page where they have gone over the bill that they've introduced. But they have Senate Bill 2793 and House Bill 1081, which has been introduced. And this bill provides for licensure. So this year, and by this year, I mean within the next couple weeks, because we're coming up on a deadline for getting bills out of committee. But either that first bill I told you about could outlaw midwifery, and then we'd be in a pickle. Like by July, it would be illegal. Or that bill could pass, and this bill, if this bill passes, it requires a path to becoming a licensed midwife in Mississippi, or neither bill could pass and it will all stay the same. So that's where we're at. What you can do, your step is, you are a citizen of Mississippi, even if you're in a surrounding state, that's okay too, but you call your elected officials. I'm going to make a whole separate video to go into more detail of how to go about that. So that's a wrap for this one. And if you have questions or comments, again, I try to explain as clear as I can, but or if I gave any misinformation, please just message me, contact me, and I'd be glad to add to the conversation and keep this conversation going. So, okay, that's it for now. Thanks. Bye.